Solana price prediction. Okay, let me know in the comments what you think. These are the other videos that I've done so far. Feel free to binge watch and look. They are all of the same sort of ilk. I'm going to be using common sense, price analysis, Fibonacci and key levels to kind of monitor where it could go. And in the future, we will look back maybe in a year's time or 2 years at these assets. I'm going to be covering just the top assets. If you want price predictions on other stuff, please feel free to join my Patreon and you can request it and I will do it for you in a little video or a part of the Technical Tuesday that I do. However, let's talk about Solana. Woohoo. It's been around for a while, 2017. I remember it in its ICO phase back in the day. I remember it when it got launched. And did I think it would do as well as it did? No, I did not. No. It has done incredible. It does get a little bit of slack due to the fact that it can't tell the time sometimes and the fact that it does get turned off sometimes, but that's all in the mud. Sticks on the mud. Well, you get the idea. Mud sticks, right? So the reality is it isn't a bad project. I do have reservations and I will explain those reservations in a second, so please stick with me and watch this video to give you my honest thoughts on it. Now, as you know, it is a proof of stake blockchain, kind of ish. It's got a proof of history with the underlying proof of stake consensus of a blockchain, so it's a mixture of two. However, that being said, it has got a few little issues that I do not like. I've just mentioned them. The fact that it sometimes randomly turns off. Even today, you can see, I think, hold on, 2 hours ago, there was like a random, yeah, there you go. There's a random like little weedy kind of spike in the average. It's like, okay. But overall, you can see it's doing pretty much a lot of things. You can see how many transactions it's doing. It's absolutely crazy. If I just press the refresh button, bear with me. There you go. You can see it's all moving up and down and doing weird and funky stuff. Its transactions per second is 4,156, relatively decent. But yeah, it is a pretty decent blockchain in all fairness. However, that being said, I do have reservation. But as you can see here, there's like a random little weird spike. Anyways, this is what I don't like. And it is kind of obvious here. FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, Alameda Research and stuff like that. This did, in my opinion, harm Solana. And it kind of probably is the reason why it fell 97%. But it gives me vibes of Ethereum in previous cycles. Let me explain, and I will explain it all. Don't worry. So, as you can see, I'm still trying to square away my perceived, what I perceive of him and to what actually happened. Obviously, with what's been happening, it just feels really, really jarring. So, as we know, FTX kind of crumbled. Sam Bankman-Fried was kind of pulling the wool over everyone's eyes, and obviously Solana was caught up in that. This was Sam's coin. Like, he really liked it, like properly liked it, and he was a big supporter of it. He backed its, projects on the entire ecosystem. And he had a lot of tokens. And this is probably, as I say, one of the main reasons why it has fallen so hard due to that. Now, my reservation is this. There's going to be a court case at some point. Whatever happens is going to be some sort of public inquiry as to what happened with FTX. What we do not want to find is that Solana was bought with weird and wonderful dodgy funds that were kind of taken from people or money laundered or whatever it was kind of done, and it was pumped into an asset. The reason why I've got my concerns for it is because asset number one on the screen is Solana, in terms of it was his coin, it was backed very heavily, and that could lead to some more critical debate and problems. So that kind of mudstick sort of situation isn't fun. So as you know, he is facing fraud charges. Whether these stick or not, I don't know. But what we don't want to see as an investor is seeing your asset being put through the courtroom and potentially scrutinised because of maybe funding that was done incorrectly. Maybe all wrong. It may not happen, but it's a potential that it could happen. Keyword is could here. Not every asset is going to be immune from this, by the way. It's not just Solana. It could be other ones too, obviously. So yeah, we need to be wary of that. Anyways, this is an amazing chart. And let me talk about previous cycles. This reminds me of Ethereum. In the previous cycle, Ethereum did a 94% correction. This is doing a 96, 97% correction, right? Cardano did a 98% correction, right? Gives me that sort of vibe. Even though like I was planning to buy this in the previous kind of rundown, but I got a little bit shaken out because it went down to $9 and I wasn't sure what was happening with FTX and obviously what I've just said just then. So yeah, I could have easily went, I could buy this at $15 or whatever, or $10, cool, and just ride it to the moon goes up. But I was like, no, I'm just going to buy something else. So I may well miss out here. I'm not too fussed anyways. I think what I have bought kind of consolidates my position in other things, which I will win anyways, potentially. So what we need to look at is obviously key levels. If you've not seen this video before, feel free to check out the other ones as well. You'll probably see the same sort of vibe. I will explain it as I go through. The first thing that I like to do is sometimes see where things have stopped and turned around as key levels. The first one that really jumps out, and as I say, key levels are hugely important. Now, what we're looking for is potential areas where prices can move back up to in a bull cycle, in a new kind of hype cycle return. And there's a couple of levels that we're kind of highlighting already here, where we need to kind of know where the key levels kind of are. Now, these are the two most obvious ones that you can kind of see. There's another one up here, obviously at 170, sorry. Yeah, 175-ish. So they're levels, but what these signify is levels of closures on the weekly time frame, not on the candles, on the weekly candle body, right? So that one gives you that kind of framework. It doesn't include wicks. But what I want to look at is the fact that, is there a relationship between this and the Fibonacci? I've got a feeling there might be around this level and obviously up here, just because you can just tell if you use Fibonacci enough, you can kind of see where the numbers kind of are. And there's going to be a one probably around here as well, I imagine. This is probably too small, but you can see this level here around $80. So what we're looking at is levels where this can genuinely just go up and just hit levels. And we often see this and people are like, oh, how does this work? Why does this make sense? Well, it just weirdly does. I don't know why. But yeah, when there's usually a large fall, there's often a retracement. Now, whether we go back up and up and up and retest some levels, cool, and then go down again, who knows? But sometimes they just we kind of consolidate for a while, then go up eventually. Now, a question that I probably will get, do you think we'll go over all-time high? Now, this is a very, very interesting point. As I said before, it's had a huge fall, but it also had a huge rise. This was a cracker of a coin. Did very well. So when we put a Fibonacci on here, we've got to look at the obvious here. What can happen? Now, we can see very, very clearly here that we have got some levels up here. So 618 level, the top level. We've got the 50% mark, 133, not far away. And obviously the 382, in that region there. So in terms of Fibonacci, we do have a little bit of confluence, not massive confluence, but enough to kind of go, oh, actually there's a bit of significance here. But the reality is, right, if you were buying at say $10, say, we'll go from roughly $10 if you were, some of these moves are monstrous. The higher the fall, the higher the gain, right? But that does not mean, personally, we're going to go over all-time high. It's a possibility, don't get me wrong, but it's somewhat like, are you really going to ride it all the way up to like these levels and not take any profit on a top solid asset in the top 10? You probably would doubt yourself and think, you know what, I'll probably take something off the table then. But for me, if we are looking at beyond all-time high, $328, $415, and maybe even higher. Possible. It is possible. Don't get me wrong, it is possible, but it will be very hard to achieve. There's still a long way for this to go. Even at today's current market price, if you buy it at whatever region, whether it's $20, $25, and it goes to say $200 again, that is a real good, solid return, right? As well as the staking rewards, as well as all the other stuff in the ecosystem of Solana as well, which is actually doing relatively okay in terms of the degen world, right? So let's have a little look. Personally, I think anything over $100 is still a little bit of a win. Let's be fair. It could definitely do it. Now, the big key level for me is 45. Break that, and it will probably teleport itself up to 75. Why? There's a massive gap. There's a huge gap here, and it's looking relatively good. So we've got to look at that. But as I say, you can walk, run, all that kind of good stuff, right? The reality is it has fallen a long way. I don't want to just say to people, oh, guess what, we can do it. Now, if we go over to the coin perspective very quickly, I would just want to put these into numbers for you just so you can kind of see the sense of it. Because sometimes it's hard to say when you just put like numbers, because people do comment and go, market cap means nothing. It kind of does, because if we're looking at, say, a $600, oh my God, is this going to not work again? Because that sometimes does do that. $600, random, I know, but it's a potential price point what people may well plonk on their YouTube for clicks. That's a 23x and a $242 billion asset. Now, it's not impossible, don't get me wrong, it's not, because Ethereum is roughly around that point. It has been much higher, but you've also got to kind of think to yourself, well, got to have a bit of common sense. Is it going to do it in one cycle or multiple? It depends on the structure and how long the life cycle of Solana is going to be. It may well get up to that at one point, but maybe not on this run. So is it likely to do a $600 move? Probably unlikely, which is technically the 2.618. So it's definitely worth looking at, but I wouldn't suggest it would happen in one hit. If it does, wow, huge. But I've also been proven wrong quite a lot of times with cryptocurrency in a bull cycle, because sometimes things run further than you expect. So this is why you buy low and you take little bits off the table at certain big points, and then guess what? You take full advantage of potentially whatever run you're in and how crazy you can go. Because if you said to someone back in November 2020 at like $1.90, this was going to go to 200, nearly $300, whoa, you'd probably go, okay, cool. I was not expecting that. And sometimes you're not. Like, look at Matic, for example, is a great example too, the run that it had. So what do I think? I think $104 is definitely a key level that it needs to capture at some point in the future. And I think anything over $200, you should be looking at taking quite a bit off the table, because that is a huge run. Anything after that, a huge bonus. Of course, it can go over all-time high, but also it may also fail. And do you really want to see your profits get washed away? Now, I don't say take all your profits, just 10% here and there. Remember, profit strategy is key, right? Take a little bit off the table at certain big levels, because if you try and ride the lightning from the lows to like say $600, $700, $800 because some YouTuber's telling you, oh, it can maybe go there, and it doesn't, you will kick yourself. Always manage and maintain your own position. Anyways, before I go, check me out on Twitter. Why? Tomorrow, I'm doing a massive discount for my company, my education company, Learning Crypto. It's a huge discount. Probably the biggest I've ever done, because it is my 5th year full-time in crypto. Mental, I know. So please do check it out. And if you want more content from me, I do Patreon, where I do extra content, but I've also got a company where I've got a team of people, trades, the lot, everything. It's crazy. 2 different things. There's a pinned video on my YouTube which explains the difference between both of them. Anyways, there's a video you should probably watch. See you later.